What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cartoon Season, a show all about animation, right? Cartoons, anime, movies, shows, all that stuff. As long as it's animated, it's all good. My name is Tyler, and so Amphibia, of course, right? You see the screen, or maybe you don't. Maybe you just see the title. If you see the screen, you're probably on the YouTube. The only one, on the Tiger T YouTube channel. If you don't see the screen, then you're probably on a different podcast platform. Many different ways to watch or listen to this. And we got Amphibia, we got seasons 1 and 2. I decided to do both seasons together because season 1, a little more episodic, a little more of that. Season 2 went deeper into, alright, we've got it. Let's start running with the story we've built up. And also, I just watched the first season, and I didn't feel like doing an episode on it. I was like, let me do the second season. Let me just watch second season, because this show's great. I couldn't wait for the second season. Third season is out right now. Have not watched a single second of it. So very excited to record this so I can watch the second season or third season. But yeah, I think we can talk about the first 2 seasons. I'm gonna focus on a few different things that I thought really stood out in the first 2 seasons. I'm gonna touch on Hop Hop and the music box, which is something that when it was happening, when like the weird like his attitude towards it, like every time we saw him interact with it, I was very interested to see like it reminded me of like Gravity Falls, where I was like, oh no, something's happening. Like he knows what's he gonna do. And then I also want to touch on a large part of the show, which is Sasha's betrayal, right? Where we see her get introduced, and then we see what kind of person she is, and we go all the way to the end of the show, obviously, which is going to be a nice little segue into me just talking about the last episode, season 2, episode whatever. I think it was True Colors. I do want to break that down a little bit. And then obviously some season 3 predictions. So first part to start off. Well, actually, I'll just start because I can get into other stuff during the predictions. So we have Hop Hop in the music box, right? And so very early on, he learns that it is the Calamity box, right? It's not just some random music box that has some powers. Like, it's the Calamity box. He learns about some stuff that's happened because of it, what it can bring, what it can do. I don't think he knows quite everything, but he is very scared of it, as he should be, because he knows a lot more than Anne and everything, and he knows that Anne is very attached to it, especially in how to get back to her world. But his attitude towards it is always very weird to me. And it stands out every single time something happens with him. So, like, a little later on, he forbids them, and Sprig and Polly, I think all of them, from going to the Bazaar to find answers, because, they know that there's some colorful individuals there, and, they know that there might be some answers we can get to, figure out what's going on with this, how to power it, how to get home. He forbids them. Even as far to him revealing that he's the wrecker, he's the one that took the box. He's the, and then even after he takes the box, he buries it. He lies to Anne. He says that I'm gonna take care of it. I got contacts that can dig some stuff about this, can learn about it, and he doesn't. He doesn't at all. He just buries the box in the ground. He says nothing will ever happen. This thing is too dangerous. We can't have it. And it is like a morality issue, because that box is quite possibly the only way for Anne to get back to her family, her friends, her life, and he is choosing that does not outweigh the danger and the grief that can be caused from it. Because we have a little later on, I don't think I mentioned this, but a little later on, Hop Hop does kind of reveal the backstory to Sprig and Polly, like their parents. It's all very sad. This is a little bit after, Anne figures out, or Anne catches him, I should say, digging up the box, not being there, and her being like, wait, what do you mean the box was in the hole? You told me it was with your contacts. So he's kind of forced to spill the beans. it's not a bad excuse for him to be like, oh, well, I lost so much already, like I can't lose them, or I can't have them lose me, like I totally get that. But from Anne's perspective, it's like, that's the only way for me to get, like, you're doing this for your family, but that box is the only way for me to get back to my family, and you're stopping that. Like, I thought we were at least somewhat of a family, and you're in my way. Like, right now, at this very moment, you are the only one in my way right now. That's not a good look. I mean, it's tough, right? Because they both make very good points. Although he's doing it for his family, I don't think he has the right. I don't think he has the right to bury the box and just choose Anne's fate like that, because that is her only lifeline. Like, we don't know for a fact that with Anne's quest to get back home through this box that something's going to happen to Spring and Polly. Like, we don't know that. We're assuming that based on some history of the box, based on some books that he's read about it. But we don't know that, like, it's like a sacrifice. It's like a blood sacrifice where you gotta sacrifice Sprig so Polly, or not Polly, so Anne can get back home. We don't know. And with you burying the box, you're essentially just cutting her off from any possibility, because then you start to, like, create stories of, like, well, there could be other stuff, right? Wortwood is a somewhat magical place. There could be another way to get back home. Another witch or a wizard opens up a portal. Rick Sanchez could pop up with his portal gun. We don't know. But then you're just grasping at straws, whereas there's something here that we don't know how it works, but we know it got him here. If you have a key, the key worked one way, it's gotta work the other way. And it is very, I guess I'll just get into it here, because there are a lot of, like, comparisons between this show and the Owl House. Y'all might not know my love of the Owl House. I haven't done an episode on it yet, because I'm actually waiting to rewatch seasons 1 and the first half of season 2 again, to then do an episode on it. And I don't want to rewatch them until the second half of season 2 actually drops. Hopefully it drops soon. Hopefully it drops, like, top of next year. I'd be very happy with that. But a lot of but the one interesting one is that I don't want to spoil the Owl House, but so I'm not going to talk about the Owl House. All I'll say is that with this one, Anne is trying to get back home every second that she can. She's not neglecting it. She's like, no, and we have to figure out what is going on, how this key works, so we can get through the door back home. And it's a very interesting, I'm not going to say it's the same or different from the Owl House, but it's a very interesting comparison to the Owl House and how that story is treated. And then, yeah, I mean, that whole thing pretty much ends up with Hop and Anne having a lot of tension. And towards the beginning of it, you kind of feel like they'll just do, like, the cartoon thing, or even just, like, the very simple thing of, after an episode, they'll kind of fight about it and work through it, and then they're all good. But it doesn't happen. Like, even through I think it was the third dungeon? Are they called dungeons? Temples. They're called temples. I was thinking of Zelda, but there's temples in Zelda as well. I'm pretty sure it was the third temple, maybe, that they're still fighting, and you kind of get the feeling of, they're going to kind of work it out. And then by the end, Hop is very much trying, but Anna's like, I just can't. Like, there isn't anything that you can do right now to make me forgive you. I want to forgive you. I want to get past it, but I just can't. Like, this is one of the things that it's just going to take time. It's going to take time for me to think about it and heal and try to forgive you, or, like, try to just move past it, Like, you still did this, like, no matter what you do, it's not going to erase the past, like, erase what happened. But yeah, I just, the whole thing is very interesting because we don't get too much of Hop in the box. Like, I only have a few like, points, but every time he does something with it in the show, it always takes a much darker tone, and it's like, what is he doing with it? like, you have the morality issue again of like, is he even allowed to do this? Him doing it behind Anne's back is very, very shady. And then even by the end of it, you know, everything you thought about the situation turns out to be true, because Anne hates him and Anne like runs away, and you know, she does come back, but even by the end of the show, she's not like cool with him. She's like, yeah, but there's that one thing, that one thing you did that's really, really uncool. But I do still like that because everyone had a motivation in that, and it was a very real thing that happened. You know, again, they didn't just gloss over it. Like, there is going to be, we've already seen it, and we probably will continue to see it, like consequences from him doing that. But yeah, and then we have a much more prevalent, you know, kind of plot device in the show, which is Sasha's betrayal. You know, so at first, you know, she's obviously one of Anne's best friends. I personally, after we learn more about her, hate her. She sucks. She's definitely like one of those people that kind of, I wouldn't even say like pretends, but like she's kind of Anne's friend, but she's always like telling her what to do. Like, she knows better in every situation. Very controlling. I mean, she even does it with Marcy too, where it's like that was Sasha's role in the group, and I don't think that was a very healthy one. But yeah, I mean, we learn about her. She's trapped, and then she gains the favor of Grimesy here, and she becomes lieutenant of the army. But she does a lot of really uncool things. Again, things that she's like, well, I know better, but she doesn't, because like she brings the toads to Wartwood, which is like, dog, like we don't like toads. We don't want them. We do not want an army of toads in Wartwood. Like, we this isn't cool. This feels like you're gonna start like being put up in our homes, and like, this is very like what's the, that happened like the Civil War. Like, oh yeah, soldiers just live in your home now. It's like, I don't know if we want that. And then like, according to the toads, like there's like a frog rebellion, and it's all led by Hop Hop, because him running for mayor has caused people to be more confident, causing rebellion. But it's like, again, every side thinks that they're right, you know. So it's like, oh well, what we're doing is right, so these guys rebelling against us, they have to fall in line. It's like, you just saying the words fall in line. I feel like that's the only thing that only villains say that. You know, because you're trying to control people. So that she planned on killing him, and then like we have the season 1 finale, which we have the big fight, and even Sprig like comes out and is like, no, you're a bully, like you are not her friend, you know. And then they fight, and she even loses the fight to Anne, which is crazy, because Anne is not a fighter. Like, I imagine Sasha had a lot of fighting experience and teaching, and with her being literally the head of the army. And then we have a moment where I feel like they try to, the writers, these guys, they try to like make us sympathize with her, you know, and they make us think that, you know what, maybe there is some good in Sasha. Maybe she is coming around and she realizes the error of her ways, and because we have the thing where she's losing and she's gonna fall off the thing, and Anne saves her, and then she lets go, and she's like, maybe you are better off without me, and she drops and she falls and she doesn't die, but in that moment, like, maybe you are better off without me, like that was supposed to be her realizing all the turmoil that she's caused Anne, and you know, her maybe realizing that she has been a little bit of a bully, a little bit of a control freak. Even with that, I'm like, okay, like in that moment, right, season 1 finale, I'm like, okay, maybe that will turn Sasha, you know, and this will cause her to knock some sense into the toads and be like, no, it's not what's happening. We can all live in peace. It's okay. You know, and then that'll have them coming back together, meeting the third person, which we didn't know who Marcy. I think maybe we heard her say Marcy's name. We didn't see her at that point, though. And have them all come together, go home. Nice, happy ending. But it doesn't happen. Very next season, she's like, I'm planning my revenge. I'm going to kill all the planters. It's like, I'm going to kill all the planters for what they've done to me. It's like, but you, again, it's a very villain mindset where it's like, Anne and them didn't do anything. They were just literally just living their lives in Wartwood, just chilling. And then you came and like you tried to take them over and then kill them, and they were an obstacle in your way. Again, when you refer to someone in that way as an obstacle, it's only something villains say. You know, that's villain speak. And so like she plans something, right? She's going over, she's having like the Toad Summit, being very aggressive, very reckless. Completes the challenge to gain their favor, and there's even a couple of toads that are like, you didn't care about us. Like that whole challenge that we just did fighting that thing, like you didn't care about us at all. Like you barely knew we were there. Like we almost died. And that's just showing how much, again, up until this point, and you can see in retrospect as well, like how much she has like tunnel vision, but she has this plan. She wants to like be the leader of everything. We've seen that on a smaller scale with her relationship with Anne and Marcy. That's just what she's trying to do here. She doesn't really care about anyone as long as she reaches her goals. Again, you're a villain. Like, there's no other way to explain it. I was also very scared. They don't really do this, I don't think. I think they started to try to do it, but I was very much predicting that they're gonna give us an episode where we learn about Sasha's past, and they're gonna make us sympathize with her and be like, oh, this is why the way she is. I don't think that happened to my knowledge. And also, even if it did, wouldn't change it. She's done too much. She's gone too far, But then, we get some of her like trying to come around, with her and Grimes helping Anne and company with the third temple. We have her coming over for dinner, but even there, like even with those two episodes, like we saw sparks of she's not changing. She is the only reason she's helping the third temple so that we get all 3 gems and then she can have control of them. The only reason she's coming to dinner is to learn like secrets about them and, to even just put on a good face so that when we betray them, they definitely won't see it coming. And then even then we see again more of it being like, oh, well, maybe there's a good side to Anne. Maybe her at first being like, no, I don't want to be in the band with you, like the performance or whatever, and then coming back around and performing with Anne and Marcy. Maybe there is some good in her. We do see moments, we see times where Grimes almost like confronts her about it, and for a half a second she does look inside of herself and is like, oh, well, I did grow up with Anne and Marcy and I do kind of like that, but then she always puts on that mask, which I think is not a mask, it's her true self, and she doesn't really care about them. Again, she has an end goal, and whoever she has to destroy, she is cool with it. And eventually leads to them betraying them showing their true plan, them getting the box, them taking over the castle for a short amount of time. Her basically being like, you like her going against Anne, and her being like, all right, well, you going against me, I'm just gonna send you back home. She tries to use the box doesn't work, of course, because she's an idiot who doesn't know how to use it. But she, again, like that moment right there, she doesn't really care about them, like in the end, or else she wouldn't have sent Anne back home, because she knows Anne is her biggest rival. No one else in all of Amphibia, all of anything, is gonna go against her the way Anne is. The frogs are gonna rebel. The toads, we got them. What else is there? With us at the throne and us as taking down the king, the newts can't do nothing. And then, I mean that right there kind of ends the whole Sasha betrayal thing, where again in the beginning, not even in the beginning, like from start to finish, Sasha is playing them the whole time. Like there are sparks of friendship, but there's always an ulterior motive with her. Where Anne is just like, I'm just trying to have friends, have family, and go home. That's it. I'm not causing an uprising. I'm not like, I'm literally just a person. You're the one that has like an army and trying to take over the world, And again, if you're doing that and you see people as obstacles, you are the villain. And chilling and like making food and showing them Suspicious Island, not villain behavior, you know. But yeah, that's why like the whole time never really liked Sasha. I thought I could start to like her in the beginning when she like was like messing with Grimes, you know. But then once she decided to be a head of the army, I was like, I don't know about this one. And then they went to Wartwood with the Toads, and I was like, no, she doesn't care at all. But that is kind of perfectly lead into the last thing before predictions that I want to talk about. I just kind of want to go over the last episode, True Colors, because Sasha gets defeated by Anne, but then King Andreas reveals his plan, right? Like, he was the king all along. Sasha and Grimes were not the king and the queen, they were the pawns. This gets revealed, which is very, like, for a second you're like, yes, Sasha, you lose. You know, but then King Andreas, you know, you come out of that and you're like, all right, well, King Andreas is actually trying to do some really bad stuff, worse than what Sasha was planning on doing. So basically his whole thing is that with the power of the music box, the calamity box, whatever, he's gonna not only conquer this world because he's got the power, he's gonna conquer every other world that he can, because that lets him travel to other worlds, and he has the power again, take over all the other worlds, right? That sucks, right? I never predicted that. I don't think. I think there was always some weird energy about it, but I never thought that he was going to be the main villain. I'm sure looking back, it was probably telegraphed in one way or another. But he did kind of play dumb about a lot of things, or maybe he literally didn't know, because like Marcy discovered, like, wasn't it Marcy who discovered the like hidden library basically? Again, maybe he didn't know that. Maybe he didn't actually know about the library, because Marcy very smart. Which goes into one of my predictions, which I'll get into in a moment. But yeah, and then speaking about Marcy, it's revealed that Marcy knew about like 90% of this plan, which is funny because it kind of turns her character to where like you hate Sasha the most, but you start to hate Marcy the most, because it's like, why didn't you tell us? Like, you didn't tell us that King Andreas was evil and he was gonna conquer other worlds. Again, like, her excuse is that, oh well, no one was supposed to get hurt, right? Like, King Andreas promised that her friends and then maybe even the Plantars, whatever, weren't gonna get hurt, and King Andreas obviously goes against that, because he's like, well, I mean, you humans are my biggest threat in this. Like, you guys know everything, you know way too much. You've also been accustomed to this world, so you're very dangerous. But I just think that was a very unexpected turn to take, for us to just hate Marcy in that moment and be like, wow, even Sasha's looking at you, you know, kind of funny. And then this episode takes a turn. I mean, this episode is, I think, the only one that gets like a warning at the front, like a disclaimer of like, hey, there's some content in this episode that little kids might not be cool about. And I was very interested to see what that was, of like, okay, someone's gonna die. That's the only thing they could do, is that someone is going to get murdered. And now as we're watching the episode, I think it's just a regular, like, I think it was a full 22-minute episode. But every second I'm like, who's gonna die? Who's gonna get it? You know? We do see some casualties, but we also see some really cool things as well. Like Frobo, unfortunately, gets destroyed. You know, that sucks. I mean, he wasn't really that like important of a character, I feel like. I mean, he was important to like Polly's growth a little bit, but I do like that they kind of started that out with being like, oh no, he's destroyed, we're never seeing him again. And then speaking of Polly, a good thing that happens, Polly finally gets her legs. You know, that was a very interesting thing, and I like that was not just a throwaway joke, because in a previous episode, I'm pretty sure it was this season, in a previous episode we saw, it was Marcy, it was when we were introduced to Marcy. Marcy predicted that Polly was going to get her legs within like, I don't know, like a couple months or something. I forget what she said, but that could have been just taken as like a joke, or just like development of, or not development, but introduction to Marcy's character, of like, Marcy's very smart, she wants to learn about everything, and with that knowledge, she knows things, you know. And so like her actually knowing about like what species, you know, Polly is, and like taking into account like how old she must be and her development cycle, and her being like, oh yeah, so in about 2 months your legs are gonna grow in. It's like, oh, cool, awesome. And also just another thing, just with it being a cartoon, most of the time characters don't really make changes like that, like especially like a big character change where it's like, oh well, now her character model's gonna have legs. That's here now, you know. It's not just like a color where it's like, oh, we can kind of, you know, it's a color, but like we don't have to change up any of the art. Like the actual model itself is just gonna be a different color, you know. But with this, it's like, no, she has legs now. So in season 3, we're gonna see her with legs. Very interesting to see how that changes what her character is, and you know, the different interactions she has with other people. A dope thing that you can see on the screen right here if you're watching on YouTube, Tiger T YouTube channel. You can see that man pretty much goes Super Saiyan. It's pretty much what she does. She has like blue gem powers. Now this happens because Sprig gets thrown out the window, plummeting, I don't know, thousands of feet to his death. In that moment, I was like, they kill Sprig. That's what they do. That's what the disclaimer was for. Sprig dies. And in that, and just, again, it was like moving in slow motion almost, but the whole time I'm thinking like, I'm going back and forth of like, there's no way Sprig is the one that gets killed. Like he's too much of a main character. Like even with that disclaimer, you would imagine that like Anne, Sprig, Polly, and Hop Hop are safe. Like I can't imagine them just taking out a main character like that. But they did it, you know, threw him over the thing, and he's dead. And now because of it, Anne goes Super Saiyan and has these crazy powers. In that moment, you think that it might be an easy win. It's not. She can't control the powers. It's a very new thing. But Sprig does get saved. I forget who saves her. I think Marcy saves her, because I think Marcy, or not her, him. Marcy saves him because I'm pretty sure she's the one with the bird. Flies out the window, scoops him up, comes back in. And then we have the ending with all of them kind of defeated. Marcy opens up the portal back home to Anne's home, to Earth. They get out, but as they're going through the portal, we see what the disclaimer was for, and King Andreas just puts the sword right through Marcy, right through her chest, and very sad, but they're kind of pushed through the portal, and that's pretty much the ending. There's nothing after that. And I just think that episode was one of the best episodes of the show. A lot of twists and turns, a lot of crazy, unexpected reveals. Lots of stuff that's going to have consequences. You know, Frobel being destroyed is maybe a minor one, but that is a character gone. You know, Polly getting her legs, that's going to change the character, I feel like. And getting those powers, now we know that blue gem powers are a thing, and we assume that the other 2 gems have powers as well. I'm assuming the other 2 gems are probably like destined to be with Sasha and Marcy. And then even, well, I mean, we'll get into predictions, because that stuff kind of goes into predictions. So, season 3 predictions, right? They're in the world. Now, obviously, Anne and Plantars are on Earth now. They are going to be most likely living in Anne's home. We do see, I think attached to the end of the episode, they play what I'm assuming is the intro sequence to the 3rd season, which is changed. So now it has the Anne and the Plantars like having goofs and gaffs in Anne's home, like with their family. I imagine the first episode is going to be, I guess maybe it'd be them like finding their way home, and then the introduction to the family. But obviously we're here, right? That's not much of a prediction. We know that's what it is. But some predictions are, I think that they will get back. They will try to get back to Amphibia, but I think that's going to be it's going to be like a B plot almost, because I don't think that can be their main focus of their drive. Oh, look at Polly with the legs, dude. I just noticed that. In my mind, for some reason, her legs were way taller. And she was like this height of sprig with like super long legs. Anyway. Yeah, but I don't think that can be the main focus, because how are they going to get home? Or how are they going to get back to Amphibia? Like, they don't have the box anymore. I don't imagine that there's anything on Earth that can bring them back. I mean, maybe they find another box, maybe they find some other artifact, maybe they, similar to the Bazaar, they find some more like underground place that like, oh, we know magic is real. Maybe they go that route. Or maybe it's just like them wanting to go back home and them kind of finding pieces in the background, but it's mostly them living in this new world. Or at least, new to the Plantars. Plantars have no idea. It is nice though for them to do the flip-flop of like Anne learning the world of Amphibia through the Plantars, and the Plantars like, yeah, this is normal. This is what this is. And now it's gonna be flipped with hers, and Anne is like, yeah, this is just how the world is. And they're like, oh, there's electricity and cars and TV and whatever. I mean, they were already surprised by things like her phone, right? But I do think with that, a lot of the focus, and I would be surprised if they don't do this, where we're going to get a lot of episodes, or at least a lot of cuts to Sasha and Marcy, because I think it's going to be their main focus of like dealing with what King Andrius is planning on doing, because he still has the box. But I think it's going to be their focus, because I think that since the box is there, they're going to be the ones trying to either, I don't want to say either, I'll say just generally them making a connection to Anne and where they are. Because even so, Anne's back home, which is great, but the Plantars don't belong there. The Plantars, I'm sure, want to get back home to their home. And also, Anne being there is cool and all, but like, we know King Andrews has the box. We know what he's planning to do. He's planning to take over the world. Guess what? Earth is a world. So he's gonna try to take over Earth as well. So Anne, I'm sure, doesn't want to just sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm home, so I'm cool. No more fight left for me. And then me speaking of Marcy, it's like, oh, didn't Marcy die? It's like, well, in the season 3 intro scene that we see her in like a tube of water with like some like wires or tubes or whatever coming out of her. So I imagine that's King Andrius keeping Marcy alive, because he is curious about the potential of like gem powers. Again, I feel like the other 2 gems are probably destined to be attached to Sasha and Marcy respectively, and I feel like he knows that if he can harness that power some way, then he will successfully, easily take over and conquer other planets. So I feel like he's keeping Marcy alive because she might be the key to one of the gem powers, as well as Sasha. I don't think that he's going to just murder Sasha now. And then also on top of that, Marcy is very smart. She's the one that figured everything out in the first place, presuming that King Andrius wasn't acting dumb, wasn't playing dumb the whole time. So it's like he probably also needs Marcy to help him figure it out. And he's probably going to be like, well, guess what? You're going to help me figure this out, or I'm just going to kill you. Because guess what? I don't really, as long as I know how the box works, I can go over to other planets. But then that also does kind of bring me to one of my questions of like, that has to be why he's not going to just use the box immediately, like right off rip in episode 1 of season 3. Because like, he has it, so why wouldn't he use it? Why wouldn't he go to other planets? I feel like an answer could be is that he wants to harness that power first, and he needs time to research the box. He needs time to look through other books. He needs time to bring Marcy back to life, or at least bring her out of like critical condition to have him, or force her, I guess, to help him. But then also maybe he doesn't know how the box works. Maybe he just knows that when he puts it on his little pedestal, it makes his castle float in the air. Like maybe he doesn't really know how to use it to travel to other places. Like maybe he doesn't know how to actually open a portal with it, and only Marcy has that knowledge. I don't think that's the case. I feel like that's, I don't know, maybe I'd have to watch the episode again to see what it seems like he knows and doesn't know how to do.
But again, I feel like at the very least he wants those powers.
And then just thinking like long term on the season, because I'm pretty sure season 3 is gonna be the final season, because I remember reading online that the creator said that Amphibia was like, you know, it was like a 3-act story, and at the end of season 1 it said end of act 1. At the end of season 2 it said end of act 2. So I imagine season 3 it'll say end of act 3, and if it is truly a 3-act play, this is probably going to be the final season. Which the one good thing about that is that at least the creator is getting 3 seasons like they wanted. Like, it seems like if this was the plan the whole time, they're getting it, which is great. Not every cartoon gets that. See the Owl House. Very unfortunate. But if this is truly the final season, I think that the final battle will be on Earth. I think that is a huge reason why the last season ended with them getting thrown on Earth, because I feel like I don't know, it's just going to end up with King Andreas figuring out how to use the box, maybe some of the powers, and I feel like the first place he wants to go is Earth, because he knows that Anne is there, he knows that the Plantars are there, and I feel like just with a little bit of personal vendetta, he's like, I'm doing Earth first. I am taking out everything, and I'm going to prove that I can take over Earth. Like Earth might be his biggest hurdle or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of like a big brain kind of long-term theory of like final battle will be on Earth. That'll probably be the last few episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if like the last 3 episodes are like part 1, part 2, part 3 or something. And they just go crazy with the battle. I don't know what the battle would even be. I don't know if it'd be like a physical battle, or we got the powers. Of course, there's so many episodes to have run through of like what Anne and the Plantars could learn, what Marcy could learn, what Sasha could learn. Yeah, that's kind of just the vibe I'm picking up from this. And then yeah, that's pretty much all the predictions I have, like my thoughts on what I feel like season 3 could go into. But yeah, I think that's it. Please let me know what you guys thought of the first and second season of the show. I thought they were really good. I think like overall, me just kind of talking general terms, I liked the episodic nature of it for a while. I do like that it finally got more story based, more story driven. Although I do like their adventures, I do like the humor in the show, I do like, everything like that. I do like that, like with like season 2 it kind of transitioned, and now I think season 3 is gonna be, we're gonna get a lot of one-offs here and there, I'm sure, of like Anne and them at the home and everything. But with the assumption that this is the last season, I think we're gonna get some real good like exposition, like real good stuff going on with King Andreas and them over there and all that. But yeah, I'm very excited for season 3. Let me know what you guys think of the like predictions, that kind of stuff. Let me know if you think I'm dead wrong. I think the predictions I made so far though are pretty safe. I don't think I made anything crazy. I think probably just like final battle being on Earth really has no no weight behind it, just a shot in the dark. But everything else I feel like is pretty much a given that I said, just because it's fairly safe, Yeah, and then same deal. Just let me know. Other than this, obviously I'll cover season 3 when I finish watching it. It hasn't even finished airing yet. But I got other cartoons I'm ready to do. Let me know what you want to see for those. Also do anime. Movies, shows, everything like that. Check out some of the other episodes. Check out the future episodes. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So till next time, man, just read or not read. I don't know why I said read. Watch season 3. Be caught up, because as soon as it comes out, or as soon as it finishes, I'll probably be on top of it, and I'll put out an episode. I'm sure. Talk about the show as a whole. Yeah, that's it. To have fun watching cartoons.